Welcome to The Good Ride, a place where if you can't try, you have this guy. This is the Salomon Wolle Nyvelt Fish 157. I'm redoing this review because now it has recycled ABS sidewalls, so it changes up the ride a little bit. I rode this with Union Atlas and Ride Deadbolts this time around, but in the past I rode a 157 with Cork and bamboo sidewalls, but everything else is the same in a wide variety of conditions and tested it against a lot of different boards. The main reason I'm redoing this review is just to see how the recycled ABS sidewalls compare to the old Cork and bamboo sidewalls. When it comes to sizing, this 157 fit me really well. Right now I'm in the low 190s, and I felt a little heavy for this. I think I could make the 162 work as well, but it's considerably wider. I think this 57 is a really nice balance between being able to ride groomers and ride powder. If I was primarily riding powder only, I would definitely go 162, and then I could only take that 62 out on clean groomers. It would be a little fatiguing on messy groomers. I think the 53 is just overall too small for me. Let's Talk Snowboard Dating app, some things that'll make you want to swipe right. The new recycled ABS does much better in uneven snow. This has great pop, very fun to ride on groomers, pretty much excellent float in powder, and it's got a softer, easier flex than a lot of boards like this. Some things that'll make you want to swipe left: this has a softer, easier flex. It can buck and bounce a little bit more than some boards like this. So let's talk shape. This is tapered and directional. There's about 20 mil of taper between the nose width and the tail width. There's very little tail. It's only 15 mil setback on side cut, but as you can see, you're riding much further back on board than the side cut would lead you to believe. When it comes to the camber profile, you have a decent amount of camber. It's not really high, but it goes for a long way. You can see it goes almost back to the tail. And then if you look at the Hillside Project logo right here, that's about where it starts to transition into early rise, about right here. And there's just a little bit before the nose begins. But it is a mostly camber ride. It doesn't feel as technical as you would think, but I would still say intermediate's on the cusp of being advanced and up. It's a little more technical skidding a turn, but at least this softer flex allows you to skid a turn easier than you would be able to with other boards with this kind of camber profile. Edge hold is pretty competent, not the most grippy of the Salomon boards, but still very good if you occasionally see patches of hard snow. So let's take a look at the Wolle Fish Flex 157. You can see it's got a nice easy give. It really does bend well. Look down in the tail, it's definitely stiffer, but there's still some give down here. Flip it around, nose down, and if you press in, you can see the nose is a good bit softer. And then overall, it's just got such a nice pop. It's very easy to lean back in and butter on the tail to wheelie up in powder. It's very easy to butter off the nose. It has a very easy pop. The ollie power is a lot easier than it would look based on the specs, this width, etc. When it comes to riding the Wolle Nyvelt Fish in uneven snow, I gotta say these ABS sidewalls really improved the overall ride, especially in micro bumpy snow. Hard micro bumpy snow, soft micro bumpy snow. That used to be this board's kryptonite. Now it is not. This can handle it very well. In soft, thick, uneven snow, this softer flex and this poppier personality still is bucky and bouncy, but it's a much easier buck. It's a much more manageable buck, and I like it so much better. Before, when it was Cork and bamboo in the sidewalls, it was fatiguing, it was cranky, it was a jarring buck. Now this is more of a smooth bounce that I can get used to. It doesn't feel like it hurts my joints when it happens. It's just more like most snowboards out there these days, and that's very good. So if you want to point it with the fish, it's okay. It's definitely fine on a straight line or two to make a traverse or something like that, but it's not a board you want to get to really go straight and fast. But this side cut is a little more balanced than you would think. Most fishes are usually on the turnier side, so while it does favor a little bit more of a turny ride, you can go straight with this and it's not going to fight you. So when it comes to base glide, this has upper tier base glide for sure. It's up with the faster bases out there. It might not be the fastest of fast, but I don't think lots of people can find fault with this. The only thing I don't like are all the yellowish, day glow, yellow, green specks throughout the base. I like a pure black base that's easy to repair, and the green here and there could get marked up. But overall, this had very good glide. When it comes to turning the Wolle Nyvelt fish, this is a very fun board to turn. Turn initiation was pretty quick for a board of this width. It will be a little fatiguing and hard in uneven snow when snow gets pushed around and moguls are emerging and you have to be quick edge to edge. This isn't going to be the kind of board you want to be on, but it's not that bad compared to many peers that are stiffer. It's got a balanced side cut at 8.2 meters, but it feels a little more across the groomer to circle carvy. Still can do nice down the line driving turns without fighting you either. I think it's a really fun board to carve, and if you get this, don't neglect it on groomers. It's a great way to turn. That softer flex allows you to leverage this a little easier with smaller boots. This really lights up with a posy stance and driving hard off the front foot, but it's not going to fight you if you're not used to a posy stance and you want to work your way into it. Maybe start with like plus 21, -3, and slowly work your way into, let's say, like 30 front, 15 back. You can do that with this board, and it's not going to feel weird any way you set this up. It's still got more of that snowboard feel that is stance width, stance angle agnostic. You can back foot weight these turns pretty well too. Center weighting, yeah, it can work as well, but it really lights up posy and driving a little harder off your front foot on groomers. Now let's talk about what you probably came to this review for: powder. This 157 floated very well. This time around, I compared it against the Taka EP 164, and while this 164 kept its speed a little better in low angle powder, this little 157 floated just as well, if not better. And in comparison to boards in the past, like the Spring Break Powder Pill, which is an epic floater, the Kurua Dart, and many other super easy floating boards, this hung in there, no problem, and handled things well. There's a good setback on board versus side cut. They have something interesting here. There's 7x2 inserts. It looks like they have one more setback insert here, which I love. This is 6x2 in the back here. They want your foot in a particular place. So if you set it all the way back with full-size discs, you can get 7 1/4 back from center of board with a 22-inch stance width if you measure from the middle of the swallowtail. If you measure from the very back of the tail here, you can get 5.325 back from center of board. I would say it's somewhere in between that, and that's pretty set back on board. That gives you a lot of easy directional float. I still felt like I had some landing gear here if I got air, and the tail didn't feel super light like some fishes do when you set it all the way back. So I had a lot of directional float with the Wolle Nyvelt fish, and I thought it did a great job in powder. So overall, I love the addition of the recycled ABS sidewalls. I think that completes this board. It makes it a much better ride in all conditions. Yes, it's still a little bucky and bouncy, but it's a much more manageable, predictable non-jarring buck and bounce. It has this fast base, it's fun to carve groomers, it's fun to ride in powder. This is a nice second addition to your quiver, but it could also be a daily driver as well.